the visibility of women as part of social and solidarity economy. I want to talk about the municipal level because we believe that in the framework of autonomy that we have, that municipalities are the basis of local processes that truly brings us closer to our citizens and more specifically women. Another important aspect of promoting social and solidarity economy, as we have been doing in the past, is to improve access of women to the workplace and to income generating activities. At a municipal level, we can do capacity building as well so that they can have access to decent work or opportunities for entrepreneurship so that they exercise their labor rights. Why is social and solidarity economy so important? After the pandemic and now in the post pandemic, social and solidarity economy has become even more important. As we know, income has gone down for the state, and we know that family economies are supported by women. So we believe that in municipalities we can work together to promote the department and country policies, but at a local level, we can truly implement everything we want to do for capacity building and to guarantee higher incomes for women and their families. It is at the municipal level where we can articulate efforts and civil society's actions, as well as actions of all three levels of government. We work with different institutions as part of the municipal government, and we prioritize citizen participation, social control, participation through permanent eligibility and indicators that allow us to measure where we stand and where we're headed when it comes to closing the inequality gap. What do we hope to achieve in the municipal government? We want the social economy to be represented in budgets of the three levels of government. In this case, the municipal budget must reflect this need to increase the income of women and their families. So if we manage to make actions for women and their families more visible, we'll be able to measure our progress to closing the inequality gap. What we hope, and we've been making some progress because out of 327 municipalities, 62 have adopted social and solidarity economy schemes. And we have seen many strategic plans within municipalities to show concrete actions to reduce gender gaps. That's very important for us. And we've been working in these strategic plans with a lot of participation from civil society organizations in collaboration with government institutions. What we hope to achieve, and this is very interesting, is that we have gathered 120 experiences of positive actions and positive experiences of social and solidarity economy through municipal policies to improve income generation. And we have created some instruments so that municipalities with lower capacities can improve social and solidarity economy. We have created virtual platforms so that during the pandemic, we can continue to fight against these technology gaps, which are also very pronounced. We knew that before, but it has become even more obvious right now with COVID. And thanks to virtual platforms, we've also been doing technology literacy programs. We have created, municipal governments are creating local markets and national markets so that processes to reactivate the economy after COVID can begin in social and solidarity economy. The whole country, all the population, different political levels are involved in this area. We seek to promote inclusive processes in social and solidarity economy by working with women. We believe that supporting them in this effort to improve their income can also prevent violence against women. If they can generate income, that helps. It gives them more negotiating power at home with their partners. All these are important elements because during the COVID pandemic, we saw that women are often praised at their homes of perpetrators of violence. And this is very difficult to counteract because it's not something that will only happen by enacting a policy. It requires educating our citizens. So we believe that in order for social and solidarity economy to prosper, the context needs to be right for that. It will help us reduce the gender gap if we manage to continue to promote it, and we will be able to break the stigma of sexual division of labor. We believe that all the unpaid work done by women in the context of families and households is very important. That's why we are stressing the work that we do with women. We want to create more inclusive municipalities where women are more actively involved, where they can work in many different jobs. And we will create the conditions so that the municipalities can offer more of these opportunities. All of the care providing work needs to be available for women so that they can be assertive in the market and generate income.
Okay, we also went over time a little bit, so we can continue now with Camila. Camila from the municipality of Araraquara from São Paulo, Brazil. Good afternoon. It's a great honor to be here to participate in this edition of GCEF, representing the work that we have done at the municipality of Araraquara. Our work has been selected to represent the network for public policies and solidarity economy managers designated by IPIS, institutions that I should also thank for the valuable opportunity. The project in community housing, inclusion, and solidarity economy is only possible through the articulation of public policies between the Ministry of Social Security, Tourism, and Social Development. All of this through a very special program in partnership with the communities at the San Rafael neighborhood. These are highly vulnerable areas, and the cooperative Sol Naciente was born from popular initiatives called Poeta ao Futuro, promoted by SEDEX for creative development. These neighborhoods are highly vulnerable from a social perspective, and there are problems such as poverty, unemployment, and food insecurity. So in 2020, crops have been created, gardens have been created. And this is an intersectorial proposal integrated with public policies to ensure rights to food and to combat hunger among populations who are at risk of social vulnerability, always complying with what has been established in the federal constitution, prioritizing the neighborhoods covered by the program, which was also instituted in a law. We are focusing on social welfare, preservation of biodiversity, fauna, care and sustainability for natural resources, environmental practices, and change of eating and nutrition practices. There have also been social assistance centers which have created programs, and all of this helped in the establishment and the creation of the crops. So it is all of the proceeds go to the vulnerable families, and the main purpose is to generate income. The social cooperative for work and retrieval of materials for the detention centers in Araraquara was also built in 2020 with the support of the cooperative project Porta ao Futuro. It brings together ex-convicts who have finished their sentences and are now free. However, they still face enormous social and economic barriers to carry on with their lives outside of prison. So the main incentive of the cooperative is to promote jobs and generate income through composts and activities where organic material can be reutilized. This is also part of the initiative Sol Naciente, which has been approved by the federal level as well. So to answer the question, the territories in network is able to articulate all of the sectors with a perspective of local development for the communities in the city of Araraquara, which have been identified as highly vulnerable territories. The articulation for networks and social protection is an important way to articulate for local governments. In the specific case of the project Composteiras do Bem, we have created an environmental education and compost training series in order to promote environmental education, collection and transport of organic material, also manufacturing food and compost materials for practices that will then promote social inclusion and guarantee that there is food security in the region. Thank you very much. Okay, very good, Camila, and thank you for your presentation. Now we are going to move on to the next speaker answering question number 1. Go ahead, please. Giovanni. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Well, I live in the city of Montreal, and I also have been working in collaboration between the public sector and the social economy sector. The city of Montreal also acknowledges social and solidarity economy at the cultural, social, environmental, and economic sector. And it is in the economic and social sector of Montreal and the state of Quebec, the province of Quebec. First and foremost, I will bring my attention to the city of Montreal, and it is necessary for the government to acknowledge the dimensions for entrepreneurs. So it is possible to acknowledge their intervention in the social and economic spheres. However, this was not something that had been acquired, so it was necessary to work with the city of Montreal to create policies. And in 2009, a policy for SSE was created for economic development. We also considered the importance of entrepreneurship and as regards to economics, the city has a system to follow up on private sector companies and social economy companies. So the city has a network of 6 local organizations distributed all over the territory. Their mandate is to develop and accompany the local organizations. And local organizations are also linked with the private sector and social economy. The policies for the city of Montreal have the main goal to promote social economy, to back up its development, and promote access to these programs, which is why measures have been implemented to support the social economy and its sustainability. And there are 2 great pillars that support it. Well, there is a network made up of 6 organizations, and there is also the implementation of a series of support measures for the metropolis. With the pandemic, it was necessary to accelerate help for companies in the sector as well. And just as you had economic difficulties because of the pandemic, this was also true in our case. So it was necessary to support the economic activities in the city. And the city's government first used its network of 6 local organizations using the $7 million social economy fund to help the organizations during the pandemic. And afterwards, support measures were also implemented. They are also based on social economy and private companies. And specific measures were adopted for social economy. For example, the first general measures in a program to support these business models, particularly in the tourism sector, restaurants, cultural institutions. There were many financial difficulties in these areas because there was a decrease in consumption. Because of this, Montreal adopted support measures to help these companies. There are specialized advisory services available and for the adaptation of business models post-COVID, it's very important to also take this social economy into consideration. So first, this was all for the private sector, but ultimately there are 250 companies which benefited from follow-up and support provided during this time. And there were also other measures which were more general, such as the advisory service to meet youth's needs and women's needs in business. This was a critical point because a very specific measure was implemented to support clients, and steps were taken as well to help recovery in the companies. And when business people retire, just like entrepreneurs, for example, the city also implemented these measures to raise the interest of young entrepreneurs to become owners for these companies. And finally, also, we requested an adaptation of this business model because there was a lot of reluctance to the first one in the social economy sector. Therefore, these measures were implemented and additional help was provided to transform the business models. And this support was offered to the companies so that they could launch adaptation campaigns, this new reality caused by the pandemic, and also to drive innovation. Governments also have the possibility of quickly reacting to implement all of these measures. However, governments are responsible for developing new approaches. And this is what we did with the so-called community obligations. So we know that in Quebec, these social economy sector is very innovative. There have also been many advances regarding advancements regarding self-funding, and they have developed a new financial instrument, in fact, that involves private individuals and calls them to invest on social companies. Investing on community companies will also yield many benefits. So the city of Montreal promoted all of these measures. And this was done together with the citizens, providing motivation to entrepreneurs and encouraging them to participate in this very original campaign. In Montreal, this is about providing subsidies which are going to be equal to the support provided by community funds. And at the local government level, it has also been seen that they have the possibility to act in a more traditional way, ensuring that these measures be adopted. But citizens are also convinced that they are responsible for the development of innovative approaches. So this is the example that I wanted to provide. And this, of course, is of great inspiration to us. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for talking about resiliency. So in the UN, we talk about South-South cooperation and triangular cooperation because we are exchanging experiences here from the south to the north. It's very interesting to hear from Nancy Santiago from Mexico. It was one of the first countries to incorporate social and solidarity economy in the constitution, and this was done through actions that were a product of a broad and democratic process, which is extremely important. And it showed the importance of using international treaties to broaden the initiatives and always maintain principles of cooperation and collaboration. Afterwards, we had the opportunity to listen to what David had to share, his very enriching experience from Nicaragua, starting in 2007. There was a more favorable situation for ESS in the country, SSE in the country. There's also multi-ethnicity and diversity, which is also a very strong characteristic in our region. For example, in Latin America and the Caribbean, there's a great role for family economies, and cooperating has always been key. I have also enjoyed hearing about public policies in Nicaragua. There was mention of commercialization, and we heard from Mirna what happens in Bolivia. There's territorial aspects of politics and also gender issues, how central women are to all of the processes of social and solidarity economy. We heard about the programs that make income generating activities possible for women and families. And besides being an economic issue, it's about education and about creating more impact in the field and to creating also financial independence. So these experiences are very interesting and they bring together several aspects of public policies from the most local level to the broader spectrum. And there was also mention of virtual platforms, which is a very important trend that needs to be included in our discussions when we talk about local action for global solutions. It was also interesting to hear about creation of local and national markets post-COVID, because the COVID pandemic has had a very negative impact on livelihoods and cooperative experiences and associations all around the world, more specifically in this region. Then we had the opportunity to hear what Camila Capacqui had to share. I have the opportunity of working with her because I also work in the University of Araraquara. So she talked about the urban initiatives, which also have had a great impact post-COVID. We talked about how it's important to integrate all of the ministries. Social and solidarity economy is not an ad hoc policy, but it's cross-cutting, so it involves many ministries, so labor, culture, economy, and so on. And within a broader program, which is the Territories and Network, she also talked about a real and very important experience to promote the generation of income based on the Sol Nascente initiative. Finally, we also heard from an experience in Canada and the north of the continent. Montreal is a territory that's very important due to the co-creation of public policies. As was said, there is an economic, social, and political acknowledgement of SSE. This has been built over time. It has been created over time and as a joint effort. So an ecosystem has been created for SSE. Regarding the pandemic, I also thought it was interesting that a fund was created to help organizations and businesses that, as we know, are extremely important. And there is also a dynamic of collaboration for community development from which we can learn quite a lot. So we went to Mexico, Nicaragua, Bolivia, Brazil, and Canada. And it was possible for us to hear from and learn about several different experiences. And now we are going to move to the second round. And I would like all of you who are connected right now to participate through the chat or social media, maybe physically or virtually. Send us your questions so that we can address them in the final session after the second question. So the main question for the second round will be, which should be the actions or strategies carried out by individuals, governments, groups, societies, countries to make it possible to create a better world and a more inclusive world? So which are the actions that should be promoted? Let's follow the same sequence of panelists, and please be mindful of the timer on screen so that we don't go over time. We are going to start with David, and now we would like to give him the floor. For the experience we've had in Nicaragua, there are two dimensions to the actions and strategies that contribute to our initiatives. From an individual perspective, it's important to highlight that it's a changing and disruptive environment. And there is a lack of articulation, which calls for social and cultural change. This is at the individual level. So this requires new ways to produce, new technologies, new trading techniques, and of course, technology has become even more important. So it is necessary to show responsibility as individuals. This is shared responsibility among all stakeholders. From a governmental standpoint, it's important to highlight diverse, sustainable production strategies regarding agriculture in all the regions. This is very important because it's closely linked to the environment. The way in which we produce cacao seeds before and right now is completely different. So there should be ways to reduce deforestation and to develop agricultural systems and technologies that will allow us to increase productivity and income. And the same applies to trade and technology transfer. This is important because it requires that the state institutions follow this closely, because it will demand a new vision for the development of social economies and how to support them in the territory. So we are talking about this need that institutions have for support in the social economy, and we need a better organization and cooperation to achieve greater impact. In Nicaragua, we have the National System for Production, Consumption, and Trade at the state and regional level, which is providing technical assistance to social economy companies. And the main goal is to enhance capabilities in the territory. For production and technology transfer, the diversity of seeds in the Caribbean should be adapted to the humid tropics. And of course, they could also be enhanced versions which could contribute to the advancement of social economies. Based on our experience in Nicaragua and based on what I've heard in the other interventions, it's important to point out that there should be a harmonization among the initiatives in all different levels. We have plans to fight national poverty, but then there are regional strategies such as the one they have in the Caribbean. So they should be validated by the community. And in regional levels, it's important to have a hierarchy for priorities in a certain territory. there's a multi-ethnic component, which also demands that ethnic characteristics be respected in each of the Caribbean territories. This is extremely important for the country because it's closely related to the democratic model that we are building in the country.
Esa podríamos sintetizar nuestra
Due
experiencia.
to the experience of our country, this is how we could sum up our experience. Thank you.
Very well, thank you, David. Now we will hear Mirna's experience, please. Thank you very much. I believe it's very important to mention what we could do to go even deeper into social economy. I think working with women, and specifically working with women in a country that is very similar to the global percentage, where women represent 51% of the population, is essential to prevent violence, as I said, and to improve their access to income. Our experience in Bolivia has taught us about the importance of passing regulations so that people working in social and solidarity economy can have access to soft credits and capital. We believe it's very important for these groups that have traditionally been vulnerable and are even more so after the pandemic, need to have access to resources, as our panelists from Canada expressed. There are many cross-cutting issues and that should be considered when creating a municipal policy that can then be escalated to the national level. It's essential to create inclusive policies when it comes to generating income, when it comes to offering supply for women, when it comes to social infrastructure, creating spaces that promote social mobility for women, including urban mobility. Another important topic that is often ignored but is important for women is that the government should be an enabler to get land and shelter for women and their families. Sometimes it is very difficult as a woman to have access to credit, especially to buy a house, because legislation makes it very difficult for women. So one of the lessons we have learned from social and solidarity economy comes from our specific experiences. There was a specific case when we worked with women to talk about the importance of being in harmony with the environment, with nature. We worked with indigenous communities and peasants communities who worked producing crops, who promoted reforestation of their natural protected areas where they live. They manage resources from the forest without having authorization to sell their products. So there was a transgression there, but this is an example of how a local community can organize, and we can support them in order for these activities to grow. It's important to really acknowledge the value of those initiatives. We need to give them more support, more tools, as it is done in other countries. And technical assistance is also very important at a local level in order to reduce inequality gaps when it comes to technology access. I know that it's an ambitious goal that I'm expressing, but it's what we should aim to do. Thank you. Very well. You had a little bit more time left on the clock, so thank you. And now I would like to turn it over to Camila. I think strategic actions are a responsibility of the governments all around the world to create social policies that promote equality, gender equality, income equality, and better opportunities for everyone to create fairer and more equal societies, respecting diversity and human rights. Therefore, local governments must guarantee public investment, must guarantee the budget, the material and human capital to co-create projects and programs of green economy and social economy that enable sustainable growth of communities, so that these programs can also create jobs and have a positive and sustainable impact in terms of access to healthcare, better security, and better infrastructure. With organized civil society, the main strategy is to achieve access to education, even at a university level. That is one of our main goals at the municipality. Some ideas that we're promoting locally in Araraquara include inclusion through income transfer programs for families in social vulnerability to guarantee their food security and provide training and workshops for them. An example is our scholarship for citizens. There is a program for collectors of recycled material. There are trade shows where products and services can be offered by local collectives and local residents. Programs for women's collectives to promote local projects by providing municipal budget. This will lead to ecosystems based on solidarity, as Professor Leandro said, bringing together different stakeholders of social and solidarity economy, creating a fund of social and solidarity economy, and promote recreation as well, creativity, as well as bringing together local consumers and producers. In conclusion, public investment by local governments to promote social economy is what will truly make a difference. But exchanging experiences between different stakeholders will also help make these experiences richer. Thank you. Very well. Thank you, Camila. Joanne? Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to talk about this very interesting topic again. What are some of the actions that stakeholders can take to build a better world? I believe that public stakeholders must continue to support citizens' initiatives and especially social economy initiatives. Public officials need to continue to support, listen to the civil society, and they also need to be more innovative to formally acknowledge the contributions that social economy can have to our culture, to our environment, and to society as a whole. Acknowledging the importance of these contributions will translate into public policies that support social economy initiatives. A better relationship between civil society and the governments will help find better solutions for a more social and inclusive model. I believe that in the next few years, we must support a green and inclusive economy. In Montreal, we hope to see specific efforts to support stakeholders, including multilateral actors, to take advantage of the opportunity that the crisis presents to us to make lasting changes. We must act today to guarantee a transition in every area: economic transition, social transition, environmental transition. We must respond to the challenges and the needs that we face in our cities. And I'm sure we all face similar challenges. The climate crisis really demands us to change. Institutions need to be more involved with the civil society. They need to approach the civil society in order to tackle those problems that affect us all. By coming closer to the population, by identifying their needs, we can continue to promote social economy. And in the end, this can help governments as well. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Joanne. And thank you all for sharing with us your ideas, your actions to answer our guiding question. So what we hear in all these answers from our expert policymakers is that there's a need for change, a deep cultural change towards new production and consumption models, as David said, based on a shared responsibility, making use of technology to promote productivity, but also to promote social and economic inclusion. Technical assistance is very important to do capacity building, to raise awareness, to promote training in topics related to social economy locally. Technology transfer of social technologies, as we refer to them in Brazil, is also a very important topic. Something else that came up is the need to have a better regulatory framework, to have access to finance, to soft credits, flexible credits, to promote inclusion. It's important to create the social and material infrastructure for social mobility, for access to household. So social and solidarity economy can be a way to achieve all of these goals. We must also never forget about the indigenous communities that are also part of our history. And that's why new policies that promote social inclusion and diversity further, the respect for human rights, are all important. And governments must be at the center of these ecosystems. Universities have an important role to play as well. this is what will make governance more democratic and participatory in municipalities. If budgets are shaped by participation and policies are shaped by local participation, that will also make them stronger. As Joanne also said, this is a very rich topic. It involves many different dimensions. We must also consider a green and inclusive transformation. We need to listen to society, and governments need to promote innovation by formally acknowledging the importance of social and solidarity economy. Today in 2021, we face this enormous task. GSEF will be part of promoting in the General Assembly, the United Nations in February and July 2021. In February, the concept of social economy was admitted as an alternative to the development model that we currently have in order to face the challenges of the 21st century. And the second, from July 2021, has accepted that cooperativism is essential for a social and economic model that governments must encourage, promote, and raise awareness about the importance of participation. So look at all the different topics that we have addressed in the 2 rounds of discussion that I summed up right now. Next, we will give way to conclusions, closing remarks, where each of our panelists will have 2 minutes to give us their conclusion. Afterwards, we will have a few minutes for questions and answers from the audience. So David, Mirna, Camila, Joanne, please, your 2-minute conclusion of what you think matters most before we move to the Q&A. Okay, well, I guess I would just go back to something that Johanna said about the importance of climate change and what that implies to social and solidarity economy models. In Nicaragua last year, there were 2 hurricanes that hit the Nicaraguan Caribbean with devastating effects, specifically in the social economy. For the local communities, this was a very difficult time. And it came to show us the many challenges that the region faces. But this doesn't only happen to us. This is something that is happening globally. And to face these challenges, I think international exchange of experiences would be very valuable as well, because we all need to take a stance, not only nationally, but globally. We must not forget that GSEF is a global forum, and it is meant to lead to an exchange in order to make social economy a sustainable perspective for the future. I think that would be my conclusion. Just a reminder of the importance of this forum and of how much it can contribute to contexts such as ours in Central America. Thank you. Thank you very much, David. Now, I would like to give the floor to Mirna Pereira. Okay. So, what do I see for the future in social and solidarity economy? The need for a large scale social pact, but also in this new world context, there's a need for political will everywhere if we are to promote actions in social and solidarity economy, recognizing the different production schemes of social cooperativist groups and other social associations. Another important element is for there to be economic will as a state, as a plurinational state. In the case of countries like mine with many indigenous communities, it's important to recognize our diversity and have economic will in order to promote solidarity economy. Otherwise, family economies will continue to struggle. Another important aspect is the need to change the fiscal policy. If we do not change it, tax policies, access to finance, regulations, it will be very difficult to help social economy go global. Regulations must change so that at least at a municipal level, social economy can be recognized. There are a series of requirements that often limit access to markets of groups working in social economy schemes. Social economy is part of living in harmony with environmental economy. I think this harmony is essential. I think those are the most important topics I wanted to address if we want to continue to promote social and solidarity economy. Thank you. Next, I want to give the floor to Joanie.
Oui, bonjour. Alors, je dois faire un constat que je n'aurais pas pu faire il y a 15 ans. Je vois que
Yes, I
gouvernements nationaux, locaux,
want to say something that I wouldn't have been able to say 10 years ago, that many national and local governments are moving towards a greater recognition of social economy. Large international organizations such as the United Nations are also becoming more active in promoting and recognizing the importance of social economy all around the world. So the governments and other stakeholders of social economy need to continue establishing this dialogue about common issues in order to consolidate support schemes that further develop social economy. Communities need to take charge of their economic activities. And to do that, stakeholders of social economy have to continue approaching governments so that governments give them the recognition that they need. Thank you. After the conclusions by our panelists, we will offer an opportunity for questions from the audience. Another very important part of our panel to guarantee an exchange of experiences and information. And I want to start by asking two questions. We don't have that much time together, and we know that there are other activities for you to attend. So a specific question for the example of Brazil. I think this is a question for Camila. Considering public policies, specifically regional public policies, how do you think we can continue to promote social economy? So what do you think the role of public policies is? I want to start by giving the floor to Camila, and I think I also owe her an apology because I didn't give her an opportunity for her conclusion. I'm sorry, maybe because I was already thinking about the question for you. So maybe Camila, you can take some time to give us your conclusion as well as answer this question. And I am truly sorry for that confusion. Don't worry about it. That's okay. I think many things have already been said. So summing up is a bit challenging. I think that the creation of public policies also requires new legislation, a regulatory framework, and the creation of other institutions, incubators. I don't know if that is the right word, but incubators to promote cooperatives, to promote projects, to create these types of social cooperatives. I think there's a need for public policies with that aim. So thank you to all the participants for this wonderful exchange. Thank you to everyone who has been involved in this session. We are currently living in a very difficult time. We're facing economic crisis, but through social and solidarity economy, we can find an alternative. We can try to build a better world with a more inclusive, green economy. There's a lot of human potential that the local governments and the governments of the world can take advantage of to develop projects with a social impact that promote local growth, that promote sustainable development. Thank you and good afternoon. Thank you, Camila. Maybe we have 20 or 30 seconds each. If you could try to very quickly answer that last question, besides governments or other stakeholders, just tell me what you think about who should be involved in creating public policy. So very quickly, I want to follow the same order to conclude our session. So I want to start with David. This is a topic that I think has already been addressed. I think the most important factor is will, political will at a national level and at a regional level and local level. If there is no will, then it's very difficult to have an impact in social economy. In Latin America and Central America, cultural identity is very important. So we need to respect cultural identity in order to promote development. Otherwise, social economy is very difficult to promote in multi-ethnic regions. That's what I would add. Thank you, Leandro. Thank you, David. Mirna? I think when we talk about social and solidarity economy, the most important thing is having a social compact where minorities are recognized where there's respect for diversity in every sense, and the social compact sh- should then translate into specific actions like an economic plan, a political plan that can help us strengthen all the work that social organizations have been carrying out, supporting a national economy without even receiving any recognition. So I think that the social compact to strengthen our economies is very important. And I think history has really proved that to us. Camila, I don't know if you would like to add anything. Okay, no, thank you.
Giovanni,
Joanna?
Oui, oui. Alors, je crois que les gouvernements locaux doivent s'appuyer sur les réseaux de représentants de l'économie sociale.
I think that local governments must
Les gouvernements doivent
really base their work on networks, and they need to create those networks first
solides, pérennes, bien organisées,
in order to have solid organizations that are long lasting
de leur milieu d'appartenance
and that are truly representative.
publique par les gouvernements. Merci.
This is what will make it easier for policies to be adopted. Thank you. That's my conclusion. Very well. Thank you all for being with us. Thank you to all our panelists. This was a very productive discussion. Many experiences from different countries were shared. And I think it shows us how many of our challenges are common despite our difference. So on behalf of GCEF, I would like to thank you all. And I'd also like to thank the INAIS and all the organizers for giving me the opportunity to address this topic. I'd like to invite everyone to participate throughout the week. There are many interesting things in the GCEF 2021 program. We also have a multicultural agenda. We will get to see experiences from many countries and many regions. So this is a wonderful opportunity for us to continue learning, to socialize, and to network. Thank you. This was a pleasure for me to be here with you to moderate this session. And before we officially close the session, I'd like to invite all the panelists to please turn on your camera so that we can take a picture of our session.
Declarado por la UNESCO como Patrimonio Cultural de la Humanidad, el Centro Histórico de la Ciudad de México es el más grande de América Latina y uno de los centros turísticos más importantes y bellos del mundo. Cuenta con cerca de 1.500 edificios entre templos, museos, hoteles, tiendas, galerías, teatros y centros culturales. Podemos encontrar los vestigios de la antigua Ciudad de México Tenochtitlan, siendo representativo el recinto ceremonial de Templo Mayor.
A un costado apreciaremos el Zócalo o Plaza de la Constitución, siendo el corazón de la ciudad. Hoy en día es el punto de encuentro de miles de personas y lugar de eventos como la celebración del Grito de Independencia, encabezado por el presidente de la República cada 15 de septiembre. El Zócalo se encuentra rodeado por la majestuosa Catedral Metropolitana, el Palacio Nacional, el antiguo Palacio del Ayuntamiento y el edificio gemelo o edificio de gobierno.
Aunado a esto, históricamente las ciudades crecieron en torno a los mercados. En época prehispánica eran conocidos como los tianguistlis o tianguis, donde se comerciaban plumas de aves, animales, chiles, piedras preciosas como la turquesa, el jade y la obsidiana. El intercambio se realizaba a través del trueque. Con el paso de los años, estos espacios han dejado raíces profundas que se han ido integrando a la vida de cada vecindario, gracias a su valor arquitectónico, patrimonial y artístico.
En la actualidad, los mercados juegan un papel importante en la economía de cada barrio, colonia, pueblo, que contribuye a la identidad y propiedad de la comunidad, siendo el núcleo económico y social